Hey, what up? It's Ian Daddybones. I just wanted to take the moment to thank everybody for checking out the teaser trailer I posted the other day about my upcoming new project, Ian Versus Daddybones. Now, what exactly is Ian Versus Daddybones? Simple. Ian Versus Daddybones is going to be my brand new show where I talk about toys that I'm collecting. Whether I'm planning on opening them or unboxing them, I'm going to tell y'all all about it. Now, I started collecting toys. Well, when I say collecting toys, that makes it sound like I collect everything, and I don't collect everything. I certainly don't have the budget to be collecting everything. So right now, I'm keeping it small. And by keeping it small, I'm keeping it to what's most important. And what's most important to me is bonding with my children, enjoying their childhoods, while giving them the opportunity to understand what it was like when Dad was a kid, and what Dad's childhood was like, and what was my dad into when he was a little kid. And what I was into when I was a little kid, it was this guy right here. He-Man, the most powerful man in the universe. And I met this guy when I was 3 years old, living in Florida with my mom, after my parents got divorced. My mom and I were living in a shitty apartment in Newport Richey, Florida, that was constantly getting broken into, and we were having our shit stolen, and it really wasn't good times, but my mom was doing the best she can to put a roof over our heads and get the bills paid. And this is at a time when I was 3, 4 years old. I was getting ready to start nursery school, and my grandparents, my mother's parents, they would always assist. And when times were bad and we needed another place to stay, we would stay at Grandma and Grandpa's house. And when we celebrated Christmas that year with my grandparents, I opened 2 presents that wound up being my very first Masters of the Universe action figures. I got my Ram Man and I got my Man-at-Arms figure for Christmas that year, and they were like my favorite thing in the world. And I remember throwing a fit, not at 3 years old, throwing a fit because my grandma wanted to throw out the packaging. And I'm like, no, Grandma, don't throw out the packaging, I want that. Well, what do you want it for? It's just garbage. Well, there's a lot of cool pictures on the back. I don't know who these other guys are. And I want that picture of the skull guy, right? So I got Man-at-Arms and Ram Man as my first He-Man figures, and, eventually I would get He-Man and Skeletor added to my collection. Like, I even remember, I believe it was like the 1983 Super Bowl. We were at my grandparents' house. And while the adults were enjoying the Super Bowl and watching the game, I was playing with my He-Man figures, including my brand new He-Man and Battle Cat 2-pack that I remember opening that day of the Super Bowl. So, I got a lot of memories tied up in this 5.5-inch piece of posable plastic, and that's the thing with Masters of the Universe. It was my jam. It was my bag. It was my favorite thing in the world. Like, before I even knew what professional wrestling was when I was 5 years old, it was nothing but He-Man. And Masters of the Universe was my favorite toy brand from the time I was 3 until the time I was 8, when all my shit got stolen. Some dirtbag stole my Castle Grayskull that had all my toys in it and just disappeared with it. It's one of those type of things where I remember going with my dad and my uncles one day, and my dad's like, why don't you bring your He-Man toys with you so you have something to do? And my dad wouldn't tell me where we were going, and I remember we went to some friggin' redneck hillbilly, whatever the hell it was. It was like, there was like demolition derby, there was like a mud run, there was like a beer tent that I remember going into and seeing girls with their tops off. And that was the day that my friggin' He-Man figures got stolen, and That was definitely a childhood trauma of having your most favorite toys in the world get stolen from you. Like, that's the type of scenario that would require Buzz Lightyear and Woody to fix it and make it better. But nobody did. There was no Buzz Lightyear or Woody when it came to helping Daddybones get his He-Man toys back. So I just bottled that up and just stored it somewhere. Went about life. Went from a boy to a teenager, to an adult, to a father, to a husband, to a grandfather, and fucking here we are. And now as an adult, I'm 43 years old. I'm about to pay my house off. We've all been like stuck in our house over the course of the pandemic and getting used to having all our freedom back for like the past year and shit. And you know, during the pandemic, I start getting my kids boxing lessons, and my kids are getting boxing lessons and instructions. So I decide, well, this year for Christmas, I'm going to redo the basement and I'm going to turn it into a little home gym for the kids. Since Owen and Natalia are taking boxing lessons and whatnot, get a weight bench and some weights, we'll get a heavy bag, get the kids some boxing gloves and whatnot. But at the end of the day, I'm the only one that uses that basement gym. I'm the only one that uses that basement gym, and have been using that basement gym. But the funny thing is, when I went to Walmart to get the like puzzle piece, MMA floor mats, and get like other stuff I needed, I happened to be walking by the toy aisle, and I saw He-Man and Skeletor on the rack, and I'm just like, are you kidding me? When did they put these guys back? And they got like there's like a little logo up in the corner of the packaging. It says new for 20. So this is a brand new thing. Like, this isn't 2002 where they tried a Masters of the Universe reboot on Toonami and it failed. Like that 2000X as they call it, Masters of the Universe show completely bombed, and it wasn't because it was a terrible show. It was an amazing show. That He-Man and the Masters of the Universe series, Mike Young Productions, was absolutely amazing. It had such a perfect anime look and feel to it. It just came out in a world where 9/11 just happened, Grand Theft Auto 3 just hit the PlayStation 2, Dragon Ball Z is being more watched on Toonami, not to mention you got Avatar: The Last Airbender, Bakugan, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Magic the Gathering, on top of other stuff that kids were into at the time that didn't involve a half-naked barbarian in furry pants. And I get that. I totally get that. But for, you know, me, I'm working at an insurance company when I'm 22, 23 years old, and I see these guys, the Mike Young, the 2000X toys in the stores, and they just look friggin' amazing. But, you know, that line bombed, and that was the last time they tried introducing the world to He-Man. Now, here we are, it's 2022, this line started in 2020, and He-Man's celebrating his 40th anniversary. So because He-Man's celebrating his 40th anniversary, there are 3 Masters of the Universe lines available at retail right now at once. You got Masters of the Universe Origins, which are based on the 5.5-inch Masters of the Universe figures from the 80s, only now they're more articulated. He-Man's knees bend, his ankles twist, his calf twists, his ankles bend, his waist bends, his arms go in, his arms go up, they go down, you know what I mean? They're on like ball joints, and it's just super dope. The head's on a peg so it swivels, and there's like, you could do so much more things with this He-Man figure that you weren't able to do with the original. And you know, for me, this is like the coolest thing in the world. Like, buy one and put it next to your desk at work. You know what I mean? You got your own little friggin' He-Man and relive your childhood. And That's what this is all about. That's exactly what this is all about with Ian Versus Daddybones. It's going to be me talking about my toys, whether it's from Origins, whether it's from Masterverse, and other stuff along the way. I plan on making the show different. I plan on making it unique. And I'm not trying to say I'm trying to take this more serious, because I more than have taken my previous projects serious. I'm not messing around with this one. This one is going to be the one that officially transitions into a small business. This isn't just going to be me having my YouTube channel again. I'm doing things completely different. And with that said, I need my supporters. If you fuck with me, like the button. If you fuck with me, subscribe. If you fuck with me, actually subscribe to the Patreon when it launches. Because if you're willing to throw me $5 a month on the Patreon, then I will be bringing the Original Geeks podcast back. But for starters, I'm going to work on Ian Versus Daddybones. And the first episode is going to be coming very soon, very shortly. I may record it tonight. All I know is I'm more closer to getting this project off the ground right now as I say this than I was 2 weeks ago when I was thinking about it. And with that said, I look forward to seeing all of you on the first episode of Ian Versus Daddybones. Cheers, Pete!